government doesn't have the capacity to generate and produce power for the whole country.
Making sense of it all so that you can get a clearer picture.
I've collected 500 billion, and I can only show you borehole.
It's politics.
For me, it is what I call Iberberism. I beg your pardon. Go and search for it, my friend.
It's current affairs.
4 years course, metamorphosing into 6 years.
And news that affects you.
What an academic academic yo. In their leadership rococo, leadership brababare.
It's all the serious stuff,
but with a light-hearted twist.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili.
And I'm Aghogho.
Join us 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. every weekday.
Right here.
On Hard Facts. On Hard Facts.
Hello, Lagos. Good afternoon. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
Yeah, Shaku Maku from under the table.
Stop shouting.
I'm trying to
Your voice is going to go away again.
Shaku Maku! Sandra, where did you keep this under the table? I can't find it anymore.
You blame me for all your woes. Men have been blaming women for all their troubles since the days of Adam and Eve.
It's too loud now.
Welcome to Hard Facts. Tuesday is a good day for Hard Facts. Aghogho and I are here every weekday to
There's
give
Hamatan everywhere.
Your best insights into
Hamatan
today's most important topic. It's almost like Hamatan went away and came back to say, and one more thing.
This is 419 Hamatan. There's no coal. This is just dust.
Anyways, we bring you the facts, we break them down, and you can form an informed opinion. If you missed any of the shows from last week, you can watch online. You can see Ufoma and Femi,
the odd couple,
present Hard Facts. And tell us what you think about that. Tell us how you think they did. We have a great show for you. We're starting with the big three. Police blocked venue of Amotekun rally. Boko Haram execute Can executive and cut Maiduguri from the power grid. And we recap Rotimi Amechi's tour of the Lagos-Ibadan railway project. We were supposed to talk to him yesterday, but unfortunately the technology couldn't let us operate. What's on Community Report, Aghogho?
Yeah, so Chukwudi is going to be having a conversation about, the unfortunate incident yesterday, the Bulegba eyewitness account, unfortunately. The devastation that happened, lives lost, and then property damage. So he'll be speaking with people in the community to find out 24 hours after what's going on. And then on the Big Hard Fact.
On the Big Hard Facts, let's talk about Human Rights Watch 2020. There's a report out, the 2020 Nigeria report. We're going to be looking at that. We'll have two special guests. Aghogho, yes?
Yeah, we have someone from the human rights community, the CDHR. Then we'll also have a security expert who is vast in his understanding of what's going on with the Northeast, terrorism and all of that. So
it's going to be great. 5 p.m. That's when that starts off. And we'll hand you over to Rufai Useni for conversations with Rufai. As usual, throughout the show, a fantastic news team bringing you all the latest updates from the world of news, sports and entertainment. But let's get started with the big three.
This is the Big Three.
The Big Three. On Hard Facts.
On 99.3 Nigeria Info.
You know what to expect on the big three stories that everybody is talking about right now. Is there possibly a good reason to stop the Amotekun rally? Is the seriousness of the Boko Haram menace being poorly discussed by government? Are you satisfied with the pace of work on the Lagos-Ibadan railway? Let's get into these stories. But before we begin the big three, let's also mention that some terrible news you heard on our bulletin at 3 today. The body of a popular billionaire and owner of fireman generator, Chief Ignatius Odunukwe, was recovered by the Nigerian police force in a bush along Obombo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Obombo Road in
Ogombo, yes.
Is it Ogombo or Bombo?
Well, it's along Lekek, but it's actually Ogombo.
Oh, okay. And he was allegedly killed by his kidnappers. And our journalist was at the crime scene, Ijoma Esek, the Inspector General of Police, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 2 Command, AIG Ahmed Iliasu, paraded four suspects suspected to have orchestrated the killing of Chief Odunukwe. This was reported by Ijomesek, who also spoke with Godwin during the news at 3 p.m. Quite the story.
Unfortunate. I mean, it's the worst nightmare to have an operation in this way happen, and then at the end of the day, rather than have the abductee rescued, you have him lost, and no one wants to see this sort of situation happen, unfortunately. And so that's what and then the nature of the suspect in this matter, it's sad to imagine that he's been mentioned in the same vein with the abduction and even the killing. Sad day.
Quite the thing. Also sad, this morning the police sealed off Gani Fawemi Park in Ojota, the venue for the scheduled rally in support of Amotekun. The rally organizers informed the police that they had paid for use of the park, but the security personnel insisted that the venue remain closed. Amotekun is, of course, the proposed security outfit for the 6 states of the Southwest, endorsed by the Development Agency of Western Nigeria, DAWN, the governors of the geopolitical zone, and various elders as well. However, the Attorney General of the Federation has said Amotekun is illegal as it violates the constitutional provision putting security on the executive list for the federal government. We have our reporter who was on the scene earlier this morning on the show with us. Yeah,
Babatunde Pratt. Great to have you join the conversation on the Big Three. And, I'm thinking, I'm looking at the pictures of the empty canopies as well as, the chairs and, that you sent in. I'm wondering just exactly what happened there today.
The Gani Fawemi Park was supposed to be the venue for, the Gani Fawemi Park.
Sorry about that. Great. So we got the audio there now.
Okay, are we good now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, the Gani Fawemi Park was supposed to be the venue for today's solidarity walk, but when the organizers got there around 10 o'clock thereabout, they were surprised, to see that the gate, to the park was locked, and not just locked. We had a whole lot of security personnel, the police, the task force, and all of them, guiding the place, and. They had this little bit of argument with the police guys, and they were actually showing them text, a text message of the money, they paid, for the use of
the park.
Of the park, and they were also claiming that, why did Lagos State, government go ahead to collect money from them when, when they know that police would obviously come there later to seal up the park, So while the argument was going on, we had to, because we had before they came, it was even tough for journalists to take pictures, and videos, because the police guys had to tell us to step away, and they gave order that if anybody should come there for protest or anything, that they should be picked up and arrested, So we had to just stay for the organizers to come first,
right?
Before we can start our work. So when the organizers came, we approached the leader of the team, the police team, and after a little bit of argument, and trying to explain, the organizers trying to explain to them, that the rally is legal. And
how many in all were the members of the Amotekun group?
Well, a few of them, not that much, compared to pictures and videos we are seeing from other southwestern states. But for Lagos, few of them, So they try to, convince the leader that, see, they have to use the place because they've paid and all of that. But after a while, yes, the leader now told them to go ahead, But the thing is, where we had the leader, where we spoke with the leader, it was quite far, a little bit far from the entrance, But the man said, okay, go ahead, go and use the place, but no problem. And they said, okay. But on getting to the entrance, the other team we met there, told the organizers point blank that,
they couldn't go in.
That they can't go in, that the order they got, and
Is it the police or
still the police? But
did the police say why? Because two things are happening here, and we're going to get to two of them. First things first, we have the police closing a public place. Did they say why? Police only has the right to close a place if there is a specific reason, like maybe a security threat or a crime being committed. Did they say why?
No, at all. They just, well, you know the normal words of police. We have the order to seal off, and of course they won't give you reasons, while they are sealing off the place, and they even told the organizers that they won't open the place. That is the order they have, and the organizers, like I said earlier, tried to show them text messages and receipt of the payments, but they said no. So after a while, when the organizers noticed that, I mean, they won't be able to use the venue, they had to just do a quick thing outside, to speak with journalists outside, and they carried a placard and all of that. It was just a short solidarity,
And did they consider, if you spoke with the organizer, did they consider this a setback, or they thought he did mean anything?
No. Well, I while doing the interview, I posed the question to the leader of the team, that's the organizers, and I asked him that, okay, we've been having issues before now, about the security outfits being legit, and while other security agencies don't want to work with Amotekun. And so for what we have on ground today, the police sealing off the venue, does this show that, yes, truly, they are not in support of Amotekun? And he just smiled, and what he said was, well, that we were there when one team asked them to use the venue, and the other team, said no. That I mean, this says a lot too from their side. What he told me was that, well, it seems that the hierarchy of police wants the thing to go on, but probably others, are saying no. So we just had to. It was just a short one. And but really, they were disappointed that they could not go on with the protest inside the park. So what they did today was just a brief outside, newsmen outside, and just they also maintained that whatever is happening today, would not stop Amotekun, from going on.
Okay, thank you so much for coming to the show to share your thoughts.
Heaven forbid this sort of confusion happens. If they do, get in play, and then we do know you. Who are you?
but Aghogho, so what we have here is a rally that has been disrupted, right?
Right.
Now let's put aside whether or not Amotekun is illegal or whether or not you support it. This is a question of whether or not Nigerians have a right to hold rallies in support or in opposition of an issue. And over, the Supreme Court has said, yes, Nigerians do. So we have to ask, why is it that when it is time for some protests or some rallies, the police show up, and for whatever reason, they stop the rally from taking place? Should this be allowed to be happening? You have thoughts, Tunde?
Yeah, Sandra, when the guy was briefing newsmen, and when he showed us text message, to show that, yes, they truly paid for the park. We now ask this question that, okay, the police always say that you should inform them before you go for any rally. So did you guys, do this at all? And the guy said that, no, they don't have to go to meet the police, for the rally, because they don't have to.
That's not what the law says.
That's not the right thing to do. So they only paid for the venue, but they did not go to the police. So, I mean, that was what practically happened today. And they were just surprised that, they don't have to really, inform them to use the place. They can come around, to maintain peace and all of that. And they are not, they are not protesting, not that they are fighting or anything. They are just there for a peaceful protest, to support, Amotekun, and not to fight anybody. So they were just surprised that they could not allow them use the park.
And there's also the political side to this Amotekun matter. Yesterday on the Morning Crossfire, Sheriff was discussing the alleged silence of Chief Bola Tinubu regarding Amotekun. Remember that Governor Sanwo-Olu was at the initial dawn meeting where Amotekun was floated, but since then, in the midst of all the back and forth with the federal government, the governor has been silent, and some observers have suggested that perhaps it is because of Tinubu's silence. So we wonder what you think. You who's listening at home, what you think of the police's sealing of the rally venue. And let's talk about your opinion on the Amotekun situation in general. 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, and 01277 3993. WhatsApp is available as well. Send us a WhatsApp message. WhatsApp is 080 959 75805. You can also leave us messages on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3.
Hello and good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
What's it? Great. So who's calling and where are you calling from?
Afam, welcome.
From Alimot, yeah.
All right, Afam, go ahead.
You said the law that Supreme Court or the judgment that Supreme Court gave was that they don't have to inform the police before they embark on a rally. If at the course of a rally, the thing goes bad, miscreants and graffiti, this same Nigerians will come and start blaming the police.
Say that again. If what? What did you say?
If at the course of a rally, miscreants hijack that rally, it goes sour. These same Nigerians will come back and start blaming the police. If you don't inform them before you're back on a rally, and if you go sour, you want them to come and rescue you, or you want them to come and protect you and all that.
The fact that we don't inform or get permission, now, they're not saying don't inform. They're saying you don't need the police's permission.
Not, from what your guest there said, your reporter said, they don't have to inform the police.
You don't have to inform the police. That's what the law says.
And when you don't inform them, you expect them to come.
Yes, indeed. The fact that why should you invite the police to come and maintain law and order, Afam? Come on now.
Why should you invite police to come and maintain law and order in a rally?
Are you being serious? Is Afam being serious?
Oh boy.
Is Afam being serious? So
well, his thinking is that if they don't show up, then they show up, and then the rally goes awry, then they begin to blame them for not being there. But I think also the bigger argument many times is the other excuse that the police saying that we were not being informed in the first instance. So they went ahead and trouble happened. But sometimes they've been there and also trouble has happened and they've done nothing about it.
The APC rally that happened here in Lagos where somebody got stabbed, MC Oluomo actually got stabbed. Police was there, somebody still got stabbed. So it's not about whether or not you inform the police pre a rally. It's about if the police hears that the problem is there and they go into
and then
maintain
the thinking in several
law and
rallies
order.
have been when the police has been informed is so they know the route that the protesters will take, for example. So they get more of traffic policemen who say, don't interfere with the traffic so you cause the hold-up being there. But in the times that this law has been applied many times, unfortunately, it has been to the disadvantage of the protesters, like the Revolution Now protest that happened in Lagos.
A few weeks or months ago. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Emmanuel Iheme from Ikorodu in Lagos.
All right, Emmanuel, go ahead, please.
It is getting very, very funny and comical. That the police will go and cuddle a place where people want to. How many number of people want to say that they want Amotekun? I think it has nothing to do with anybody's political leaning. For somebody to say that they really need a police paper to do that, and that police must be there to say that the people are constituting nuisance or something. I just think that it's already clear that as Nigeria is currently constituted, it's in the hand of the North. And that is just what it is. Because, for heaven's sake, we are in the whole world that a country will practice democracy. And somebody wants to talk, he cannot talk, and you call that a democracy. For all I care, listen, we are just living in Nigeria. We are lawless. In fact, people who should uphold the law, who have sworn by the Constitution to do so, they are not doing so. So what it simply means is that every single Nigerian are working cops. Good afternoon.
I'm not a walking corpse.
I'm not a walking corpse. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Sandra.
Good afternoon.
Ezekwesili. And Shaku Maku.
Makushi, what's the name are you calling from?
It's MI from Akoka.
MI, great to have you, MI.
Aghogho,
yes.
If you don't want your child to find a black goat, you tell him to look for it in the night.
It's MI that has all these wonderful proverbs, huh?
Yeah. He's like the rapper.
Okay.
So if you don't want your child to find the black goat, you tell him to look for it in the night.
Okay.
There's some people that don't want a Amotekun to happen, so that's why they say order from above. When you see them say don't take pictures, don't take videos, it means there's power involved. So let's leave it on. About Sanwo-Olu, see, when they go to his talking, the child will look at the mouth before they talk now. They learn how to rehearse, so don't expect him to talk. so they look
Sounds
at the
like
mouth when he's chewing
apart,
grass.
huh?
Yes. When he's chewing grass, they know how to react. So it's just that this is 2020 and this is the conversation we're having right now. People are talking about rocket science, talk about
electric
world
cars.
domination.
All right,
And we are talking about should we have permit for police? Is pedestrian conversation, very unfortunate use of our intelligence.
All right, let's
very sad, I tell you.
Thank you, Emma. Allow Emma go look for the black goat in the night.
In the night, huh?
Hello, good afternoon and welcome.
Hello, good afternoon.
Great. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Ulumiwa, calling from Aja.
All right, Ulumiwa, go ahead.
Let me start this way. In the news this morning, we were told that 16 of Nigeria's soldiers were killed by Boko Haram in the north. And I know that for them to mention 16, they are more than that. Now, if they don't want Amotekun in the west and the Boko Haram or whatever escalates to the west, why the Nigerian military men are fighting the Boko Haram in the north, they are still struggle to fight in the west also, and neighboring country rise up against Nigeria. Do we have any soldier left to conquer neighboring country? I don't know the people that are leading us. The people said we need security. Yes.
Okay. All right. Speaking of Boko Haram, that's our second story. They've struck again. The terrorists murdered one of their captives, Lawal Andimi. Andimi was the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, in Michika local government area of Adamawa State. Boko Haram captured Andimi earlier this month, and a video of him making a strong, spirited appeal for rescue circulated on the internet, touching many hearts. Elsewhere, the Punch newspaper and other outlets are reporting that a Boko Haram strike has cut Maiduguri off from the national power grid. This would mean that the capital of Borno State, long plagued by Boko Haram attacks, is now in darkness. Another dark day all around, Aghogho.
Yeah, and this is an escalation of Boko Haram tactics. So those who knew Boko Haram in 2009, who were throwing hand grenades into people's houses and riding on bikes, has changed into a group now that has moved from occupying local government areas to mounting RPGs to cutting off entire state from the power grid, which is something to really be concerned about in the nature and the way they are now approaching the attack. In fact, when I saw this report, I sort of thought about what was going to happen when they begin to try other things now. You remember one time they were attacking telecom mast in the northeast, and you had a lot of telecom companies threaten to move out of Borno State. I remember 4 or 5 years ago. And this happening, and which of course will move when we have that discussion at 5 p.m. into the nature of the adversary that is changing now and again. And I do think the security agencies and experts will have some explanation into how these attacks have happened and what ISWAP or Boko Haram is doing nowadays.
Let me first say that on behalf of Cool Wazobia and Nigerian 4FM family, we want to extend our condolences to the family and loved ones of Pastor Andimi. All of us who watched his video in captivity were moved by his dignity, his courage, his faith, and his humanity. So this evil group striking again in two different ways. On the one hand, we have the personal tragedy of their murder of Lawal Andimi, and on the other hand, the large-scale economic sabotage of putting Maiduguri in darkness. Aghogho, this raises a lot of questions about what is being done to protect the people of the Northeast from the menace of Boko Haram.
Yeah.
You know, for years, we've been told that Boko Haram was, quote, technically defeated. But I wonder what comfort that technical defeat would be for the families of people like Andimi, who are still being killed by the technically defeated enemy. Recently, the government appears to be walking back from the technical defeat language. We had the president say in London that we are, quote, making progress against Boko Haram. I think that is a far more accurate statement because it doesn't paint a picture that the job is done. It admits that there is still a battle to fight. So I guess the question now is, are we fighting the battle effectively, and what can be done to improve it and protect the lives of Nigerians in the Northeast so that there are no more Lawal Andimis, Aghogho?
Yeah, exactly. And the sort of messages we've been getting from a number of people, especially when the talk of technical defeat had happened, and they had said, look, as long as you have Boko Haram still operating in, in those small numbers, you will have all this sort of cat and mouse or guerrilla tactics being employed. And this sort of gore are things we're going to have to experience now and again. The tragedy is for the millions of people who are away from their homes. Just a couple of days ago, the United Nations put out a statement saying anyone who was caught up because of a climate-induced condition cannot be forced to go home. So a lot of people who live around the Lake Chad Basin, the northeastern part of the country, who have been forced to go, not just because of Boko Haram, because of the crisis they face, because of the climate conditions, they have to say that they deserve better from the government and deserve better in terms of living conditions, which they cannot be forced to go back to live in those places if they know they cannot farm in peace or live in peace without being abducted. I mean, this was in Adamawa State, then Borno State, the entire Northeast still.
Let's come to you. What do you think needs to be done to checkmate Boko Haram once and for all? What do you think needs to be done? If you were the chief security officer of the country, if you had the ears of the president, what do you think needs to be done to checkmate Boko Haram once and for all? 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 01277 2993, 01277 3993. You can also send us a WhatsApp message 080 959 75805. And Facebook is Nigeria Info FM 99.3.
All right, go ahead. What's your name? Good afternoon and welcome.
Quickly.
I'm sorry, say that, your name again.
Paul.
Oh, Paul. Please go ahead, Paul.
This issue of Boko Haram is becoming on the country. Because the chief of army staff himself will tell you that they're on top of the situation. Boko Haram fought enough life in Maiduguri. In fact, I don't know what is on that. How did they manage? They were there.
Oh, all right, Paul.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. The pause was too long, but we got the message, though. Thank you very much. All right, hello, good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon. Ebuka from Mushi.
Ebuka, right?
Yes, Ebuka.
How are you, Ebuka? Please go ahead.
Very fine.
Good.
Auntie Sandra.
Good evening. Hi, welcome.
Good evening.
Yes.
There's this Igbo adage that says, on you only an walk on a showcase.
So you do the translation now.
If your house is on fire, do you begin to chase the rat?
So I think the president, they should walk around to see that these are more clinical work, because it's like it's getting out of hand. Like what someone narrated, that army is fighting in the north. Now they fight. They have not defeated them over there, and those people fighting them is coming to the west. Imagine. And now they are taking it on themselves to fight against these people. And now the government is not welcoming the idea of these Amotekun. What do they want them to do? Maybe they should just sit back and die? No, so they should walk around to integrate it into their law or whatever, so that they see that the defeat, whether technical or anyhow, mechanical, anyone, so that we see that it works.
The defeat is defeat, period.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. So we don't have adjectives before the defeat anymore. Our final story, the Minister Minister of State for Transport, Rotimi Amechi and Gbemi Saraki, paid a visit to Lagos yesterday to inspect the ongoing work on the Lagos-Ibadan railway line. They were accompanied by Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, and during that visit, they inspected work on the Apapa end of the construction. Apapa was recently added to the project to help decongest the ports by providing railway access for evacuation of goods. Now, during that tour, Amechi said that the April deadline for completion of the railway line was probably no longer realistic, given the amount of work to be done and the challenges along the way. Amechi also said that 10 coaches have arrived for use in the line, along with 10 others for the Abuja-Kaduna line, which has recently been witnessing congestion. Joy Kali was out in the field yesterday. We were supposed to get in touch with her, who was then supposed to put us in touch with Rotimi Amechi, but the technology didn't work for us. So she's here to tell us what else we Miss Doughton, Joy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, the managing director of Nigerian Railway Corporation actually told me it's what they have now at the Apapa port is 16 coaches that has arrived and 10 locomotives. Yes, I know some persons were reporting about 20. So he said in total what they have now is 26 for operations for rail tracks. Okay. So in fact, yeah, the minister has been on this inspection. This is not the first time. I think it's a monthly thing that he does. So yesterday he did the one for January. And what I really love much about what he did yesterday is the fact that I saw the passion in him. I think we always complain that our politicians that travel out of the country, they see what's happening out there. Can't they bring it down to Nigeria? And then when I saw that passion, even though maybe I would have wished that maybe I went on my own so I can take my time to do the report, I was on his crew. So we were on what they call it. I was part of the press crew, so we just followed everywhere we're going to. And then the first stop he made was at Ebutemeta. At Ebutemeta, but while he was having the conversation with the engineers on site, I observed that he wasn't really impressed in the fact that, based on the fact that he had seen that place the last time he visited, and there was not much improvement. And so he was asking them why, what is delaying it, and they kept saying just one or two challenges, okay? So, and then from Ebutemeta, he made a stop again at Apapa. Then when he stopped at Apapa too, he saw that the work ongoing at Apapa is not as fast as he expected. And then I observed that the narrow gauge rail, the narrow gauge track, which is the train that we took all the way to Aghogho, I saw lots of residents, they came out and they were happy, so excited to see the train moving. And then I tried to ask from the...
That must be the first time it was moving.
He said in 3 months. Yeah, that's the first time in 3 months. And I said,
wait,
really?
so there's a train there, but it doesn't move?
I don't know. I think he said because of the ongoing construction of the standard gauge head. Yeah, so they couldn't move this other one. And... so people have actually been asking them that they want the train to start moving and all that. So when they saw Amechi and the crew on it, they were like, wow. So in fact, can we really...
First and foremost, Joy, ni hao, ma. Since she just come from China, she's seen plenty of real...
so she's seen things work.
So you can imagine that you come from China and you're seeing people jump up because they see this locomotive. I know people will call me, oh, it's not a locomotive.
It's a locomotive.
Begin to move.
People have light rail.
I just going on the president's wish list for his New Year message, and I remember he had mentioned Lagos-Ibadan railway will be done in the first quarter, but appears that it's now gone with the wind. It won't happen. You said the minister was disappointed, but is there anything we can say will happen as quickly as possible with any of the rails that he's inspected so far?
Yes. Okay. From what the engineers said to us, they said the major challenge they're having is a pipeline that are pipeline across on the ground, crossing the ground, and then the soil too. So that's actually their major challenge. But from what they told the minister, they said that is going to be settled like in 3 months' time.
All right. So the minister said it's not looking likely that will be done in April.
It's not looking like it will be done in April.
Did he say when he thinks?
No, he said he cannot say anymore, so that it won't look like he just says a thing and it doesn't come to pass. Do you get? So for now, he said he's not going to give out a date. Anymore. But the engineers kept pressing that they are going to deliver between March and April. But from what he saw and when he briefed us, he said they are having lots. In fact, he said like some of the stations that we stopped by before we got to Ibadan eventually, he said the plastering, the flooring and all that they are not fast in it. So they need to expedite action because everybody wants to see. And especially when we joined from Aghogho, the standard gauge rail, I could feel the difference from the other train and this new one. This one was looking more sophisticated, even though the speed was a bit slow. Okay. But I felt glad in me that at least we are trying. From what I saw in Betty, I came back here and I was like, okay, I'm in the train and the train is moving, Sha.
Wow, the bar is so low. The bar is so low. Yeah, at least we get trade with the at all, I pass. All right, let's come to you. Thank you so much, Joy, for talking to us. 01277 0993, 01277 1993, 2993, and 3993. Are you satisfied with the pace of the work on the railway? Yes, you can still talk about Amotekun, and yes, you can also talk about Boko Haram. Hello. Hello. Yes, good evening.
Hello, good evening. My name is Darlington.
Darlington, please go ahead.
All right. For me, my own opinion is simple. The Nigerian military might be winning the military side of the battle. When it comes to the battle for the heart and mind of, the ordinary Borno citizen, that is where they've lost it. Because primarily, Boko Haram has its foundation on Islamic religion. And let us not forget history. Usman Dan Fodio is still a repetition of that. They see it as, what they should do. And believe you me, the ordinary Borno citizen cannot go against that. I know these people.
We'll have to stop and correct some of the things you've said here. Majority of the Muslims in this country don't support what Boko Haram is doing. Boko Haram doesn't in any way represent what the majority of Muslims represent in this country. So we'll have to say that's absolutely not correct.
Okay.
All right. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Okay, no one there. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Great. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Adesina calling from Nigeria.
Oh, Adesina, go ahead.
Well, I really don't know much about Nigerian history. We are still learning. I'm still learning. But I would like to ask you guys a question. Please, what is state of emergency called?
What is state of emergency called?
Yeah, I want to be sure I know the right meaning, like curfew or something.
Well, if it's passed into law by the assembly of a state or the National Assembly, it's within a specific region. But then it has to go through Parliament for it to stand. And so then it only happens in extreme security situations when that happens.
Now, killing in the northeast now, in the north, is it not up to the level of state of emergency already? Why do we have to keep breaking news of citizens of this country dying and the president is proud?
My brother, it's debatable. I mean, during Goodluck Jonathan's time, there were 3 times they had state of emergency declared in the entire northeastern part of the country. But the situation then, compared to now, it's a lot different. You don't have the terrorists holding ground in those local government areas where you have
can I say something?
Happen.
Sir, can I say something?
Yes,
sir. Do you know the difference between the two presidents? One allowed media to actually tell us everything they are facing there. Why the other is removing media from this thing? It's still the same thing that is happening. You know, the time of Goodluck Jonathan, we have media everywhere. We basically know everything that is going on. But right now, there is no access to media. Honestly, I'm not sure
if you follow the debates that happened before the state of emergency was declared in the northeastern part, they had certain things going on that was not acceptable. They were burning the Nigerian flag. They were desecrating the constitution. They were burning, state apparatus. So it's entirely different from what you have today. And, it's even debatable in a democratic situation whether a state of emergency is a legal instrument in the way it's used here. But I understand
the
your
issue of
concerns,
Amotekun. The issue of Amotekun, I think state policing is not a big deal, but godfatherism and stakeholderism, if it's allowed, in Southwest is another thing we know is happening right here. So the issue of police not allowing the protesters actually have their peaceful protest is another cause for is there freedom of expression in this country, which I don't want to believe there is no more anymore. But then, God help us and God bless Nigeria.
Thanks for calling us. All right, that's where we wrap this particular conversation. Thank you so much to everybody who called. Before we go, we've got some breaking news.
Breaking news. Some unfortunate story here. Now, the newsroom is reporting that the chairman of Ikosi Sherry Local Council Development Area, Engineer Abdul Fattah Oyesonya, is dead. We understand that the septuagenarian died at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Ikeja, after a brief illness. Mr. Oyesonya was re-elected on the platform of the All Progressives Congress in 2017, having been elected the chairman of the LCDA in 2018. 11. Right. Sorry on that unfortunate note. The big three. Up next, Community U report, Chukwudi Ezekwesili is going to be delving into some of the issues around yesterday's pipeline explosion, which resulted in loss of lives and property in the Abulegba area, and he'll be speaking with residents in the area. Please don't go anywhere. 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Right back. And now, the business news.
The World Bank says uncertainty over the direction of the federal government's policies has weakened Nigeria's economic outlook. The Apex Bank's January 2020 Global Economic Prospect Report projected that the Nigeria economy would grow by 2.1% this year. The projected growth rate was described as subdued. The predicted 2.1% growth rate until 2022 is weaker than previous projections made by the Bretton Woods Institution. Investors in the equity market have regained confidence in the market following the extension of the gaining streak. The stock market opened the week on a positive note as gains in MTN, Nigeria Communications PLC, Guarantee Trust Bank PLC and Zenith Bank PLC drove the all-share index up by 0.3% to 29,710.56 basis points. The market capitalization increased from 15.26 trillion naira on Friday to 15.30 trillion naira on Monday, while the year-to-date return appreciated to 10.7%. Still on business news, the federal government says taxes paid by the lottery operators will help in lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. The government has now vowed to recover such outstanding taxes. Senator George Akume, the Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, stated this on Tuesday in Abuja during a meeting with the lottery operators and other stakeholders in the industry. According to the minister, the lottery industry in Nigeria has grown to the level it is today, that there is need for operators' collaboration with the government to attain shared goals of moving it forward with utmost transparency. He said the proceeds from lottery business could go a long way towards boosting the country's economy in line with the federal government's economic recovery and growth plan. The federal government has vowed to fast-track completion of various ongoing intervention projects in the power sector to make electricity available to Nigerians. The Minister of Power, Saleh Maman, made the promise while speaking at the 11th International Conference on Power Systems, Operations and Planning in Abuja. He said government would give priority to the legacy projects. He noted that implementation of the project will be done in tandem with electrification roadmap to ensure synergy and availability of needed infrastructure to evacuate and distribute the electrons for the use of Nigerians. Just heard business news at the top of this hour from 99.3 Nigeria Info. Thank you for listening. As usual, I am Godwin Asukwo. Up next, Community U Report with Chukudi.
Hello, my name is Ronke from Ikorodu.
Hi, I'm Emeka from Festa. My name is Ahmed from Apapa.
I want to tell you about my radio. My radio is my best friend.
My steady companion.
My radio keeps me informed
all day long with hot topics, trending news,
politics, and current affairs.
My radio gives me the best music.
My radio is Nigeria Info.
Everybody in Nigeria listens to Nigeria Info.
This is Community U Report on Hard Facts.
5 minutes past 4 p.m. on a Tuesday, and you're tuned in to 99.3 FM Nigeria Info, your number one for talk, news, and sports. My name is Chukudi, and this is Community U Report. On Community U Report, we emphasize that you are a major stakeholder in the process of nation building and national development, and beginning from your community, you must contribute your quota. Now, if you see yourself as someone who is important in your community, then you must begin to play your role. Look at all the issues affecting your community. Think of these problems, proffer solutions to these problems, and most importantly, our elected representatives must be held accountable to work in our best interest. If we look at all of the major players in governance and the role that they play, it is important to emphasize that the citizen plays the most important role. Now, if you look at 21 years of Nigeria's return to democratic governance, and look at how Nigeria has fared with respect to development, it is only fair to say that many Nigerians have not enjoyed the dividends of democracy. We must say that we have made progress, but you can just say sluggish progression. Very unfortunate. Now, it is our responsibility to begin to demand and hold our elected representatives accountable. If certain people would enjoy privileges that come with the office that they occupy, then they must do all that they can to see that Nigerians lead the best lives. I'm not alone in the studio. I'm joined by my Oga, Aghogho, Oboh, Shakumaku, Makushi, Shiroro. I think Shorodam is in Niger State.
So, halfway with your fast, Chukudi, yeah? Makushi.
Aghogho.
All right.
Unfortunately,
it's a sad one,
yes.
Unfortunately. And once again, this has happened because of neglect around the pipeline in the area. In fact, most of the dailies that carrying the story have placed the blame right on the doorstep of the authorities and how they allow this to happen. And then at the end of the day, lives have been lost, businesses have been lost. Even though on Community Republic, we have several angles which deal directly with the people involved and how we help them in a way they get the information for the safety of the community, and also know how people are pulling themselves together back in the aftermath of such a disaster. Because we found that over time we've gone to places where we've had these things play out. Unfortunately, most of the places we've had to deal with on Community U Report have been places that have been afflicted, if it's not the building collapse, or you've had people dealing with the problems with insecurity in the area, or failed segments of the road where it's affecting business and people who live in those places. And we try to bring all that information to the government or to people who can make things better in the way they deal with the problem. But the Abulegba explosion, unfortunately, pipeline explosion, directly affecting people in the neighborhood because of government infrastructure which has been neglected.
True. And
studies have shown, like with Sandra and I on the Big Three yesterday, we were talking about this entire thing, pointing out the fact that even when you have the pipeline in places where they are, the authorities that should ensure that the setback, which is the distance between the pipelines and any development, should not be less than 30 meters, 15 meters on either side of the pipeline before you see any single development, haven't allowed that to happen. And in places where that has happened, you've had people who are willing to willing to get the government involved when there's a breach, or get the government involved when vandals are scooping. They are more likely to have people scoop fuel from breached pipelines when they live closer to the pipelines. If they're farther away, you're not going to get the opportunity to scoop the fuel.
True.
When it happens. People who are closer to the closer to the pipeline are less likely to make reports to the authorities to get them dealt with, because they fear that they will be evacuated from those places. So
True.
the best thing is to get them out of those places before it happens. So because you will have connivance, not just with Abulegba, in the Arekpo community area also, to have the same distinguishing characteristics with how people behave when they're staying close to the pipelines.
Now, I'll go. In History 101, I recall Professor Anyanwu walking into class and, just writing on the whiteboard. Those who fail to learn from the lessons of history are bound to make the same mistakes. And it is really very unfortunate. I'll go. Let's talk about development. We have spoken about the need to conceptualize and think of development not for the next year, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, even for 50 to 100 years. Good. That is why when they say, Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo should be very careful that by 2050, hunger and, the number of poor people who reside in these countries will experience an astronomical progression. Now, it is not just saying, God forbid, or it will not happen. You need to begin to plan for it.
Right.
Algo, if, like you have explained, when we talk about construction, people, when you say a residential area or when you say a business district, people are not supposed to reside in certain parts of, certain parts of the community or the state. Because if you talk of development, you're looking at how you can strive to see that their lives are made better. But because of maybe population explosion and the failure of government, ultimately, you're faced with such a situation. How do you manage this situation? I'll go. A little over a year ago, I made the trip to, Ijegun, Isheri, where people live with existential threats. Whether you like it or not, these people live every day. They are not promised tomorrow. They are certain that anything can happen at any time. But because of their desperation and how they have become hopelessly helpless, they brave the odds and say, it will not happen during my time. I'll go. We have spoken about how you get to certain parts of Lagos or certain parts of Nigeria. For example, they say this is Power Line bus stop. They say this is Fire Junction. I recall going to Ijegun to cover that story. The bus stop is referred to as 5 Junction because you have the intersection of 5 roads. But it is now referred to as Fire Junction because there have been reported cases of pipeline vandalism and petrol explosion in that particular area. So if we're faced with all these issues, why then do we not come up with fantastic ideas to see how we can resolve these problems? We know it is not going to be in the immediate, but in the medium term and in the long term, how are we going to save people? Now, in Abulegba, 5 persons have lost their lives, 3 adult males, 1 adult female, and a 5-year-old child. 150 people displaced, over 30 vehicles. I mean, it's really very, very unfortunate. When I first saw, videos from that particular, from Abulegba, it broke my heart because you have people who go about their business, to sabotage, for example, and enrich themselves. And they do not care about the residents in that community. When I made the trip to Ijegun, to do the story about the pipeline explosion, I discovered that these people, they come with sophisticated equipment and they are protected, Aghogho, if we're going to say it as it is. Now, the community leader told me in the Ijegun incident, the community leader told me that because of how helpless that they have become, they have formed vigilante in the community. So they go around, as a form of deterrence. But that night, certain people dressed in military fatigue came around and told them to leave the premises. And people drove petrol tankers. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. They filled it with content and left the area before, it happened, the unfortunate incident happened. Now, you ask yourself if there are certain collaborators who are powerful that give these people passage, that give them protection, and look the other way while majority of the people continue to suffer. So if we look at all these problems and we want to find lasting solutions to these problems, we must stop deceiving ourselves. First, people should not live in communities where pipelines crisscross, their backyards. But unfortunately, they are living in these places. Now you have government agencies that are supposed to protect these pipelines. What then is the issue? I read the Abulegba story, spoke to some eyewitnesses. They said that in the afternoon, the smell, the very strong smell, and they, started trying to see how they could reach out to community leaders and the rest. Nothing happened until that particular incident. And I'll go, let me also tell you something. 2 days after